There's an invisible language that top leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King, Barack Obama, and Arnold Schwarzenegger have used to captivate their audiences. Over the past 20 years, I've worked on and led global change management transformations, and I have found that there is an invisible language that will engage the hearts and minds of employees in getting them behind your change effort for maximum results. In this video, I'm going to share 3 highly effective strategies that will help you apply behavioral science to become a more effective change communicator. Then, at the end, I'll reveal our comprehensive framework that incorporates these strategies to consistently drive organizational change. My colleagues in the field might not be thrilled that I'm sharing with you these valuable tips, but they are too important to keep under wraps. Language has power. Before I reveal the invisible language that top leaders use to drive change, you need to understand that words are tools for communicating a message. In fact, they're powerful tools. Language has power to influence behavior. The way we phrase our messages can significantly influence the way we're perceived and the actions that follow. For instance, when public leaders craft their speeches, every word is chosen to convey the deep meanings and intention that they want you to understand and have. Their intent is to communicate at the deeper emotional centers of the brain and engage and pull you in to action. It's a very subtle yet powerful approach to communication, and it's story-based communication methods that allow leaders to convey complex ideas succinctly, ensuring that their message is not only heard, but also felt. It's crucial, however, that you use this power ethically and with good intentions, that you are communicating efficiently and genuinely to influence positive change. So promise me that you'll only use what I teach you in this video with good intentions, with the intent to communicate more effectively. The public narrative. Invisible language designed. So what does Dr. Martin Luther King, Barack Obama, and Arnold Schwarzenegger have in common? Aside from being public political figures, they are known for their powerful speeches and rhetoric. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. inspired millions through his speeches. Barack Obama's DNC speech moved a nation, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's address on the Ukraine crisis resonated deeply globally. The method they used is the powerful approach known as the public narrative. Commitment through storytelling. Dr. King started his famous "I Have a Dream" speech by narrating the history of the American emancipation. He spoke of the Emancipation Proclamation, a turning point for his life and for every African American. It was his personal story, his intimate story of his own life intertwined with history. As the speech progressed, King wove a tale that transcended his own narrative, bringing together the struggles, aspirations, and experiences of those before him and those surrounding him. He spoke of a collective journey for equality, drawing in every person listening, making it our shared history. And then he shifted once more, his voice rallying for action, for acting now, echoing the urgency of making the promises of democracy a reality. So this aligns with the psychology principle of commitment. When a leader shares their personal journey, the audience identifies with it and is more likely to commit to the cause. At the same time, these leaders show images or stories that establish a sense of unity and likeness with their audience. And we know from psychology that people tend to like those similar to themselves. It communicates "we are the same," asserting authority and creating urgency. Decades later, in Grant Park, Chicago, a similar story unfolded. Barack Obama, a name that was soon to be etched in the annals of history, shared a unique journey, a story of mixed-race heritage, of an upbringing from a single mother and grandparents. It was a story that was individual, yet extremely resonant. His words, however, reached beyond just his life. He told a narrative, a story of hopes and dreams, a collective journey of the American people. And then, as if following an unseen compass, he steered the speech towards pressing issues like economic inequality and healthcare reform, underlying the urgency of the moment. He finalized all of this with a direct call to action, to make a difference, to create a change, and to do so now. Let's take another example. Fast forward to March 2022. Weeks after the Russian invasion of Ukraine had started, Arnold Schwarzenegger took center stage. His narrative began with a tale from his youth when he witnessed the Russian Yuri Vlasov winning the World Weightlifting Championship. For him, this was an awe-inspiring encounter, and subsequent experiences with Russia had shaped his deep-seated respect and affection for its people. His narrative wove personal memories with historical events, bringing his father's haunting experiences in the Second World War into focus. As the speech progressed, Schwarzenegger shared his personal story with the current predicament of the Russian soldiers in Ukraine, offering a perspective on the horrors of war. With increasing urgency, he appealed for immediate action and to end the hostilities. He concluded his narrative was with a stirring call for peace, directly squared at the Russian leadership, carrying the weight of his past experiences and the collective yearning for world peace. His concluding remarks acknowledged the bravery of Russians protesting the war, symbolising the beacon of hope amidst the darkness. So we have 3 different eras, 3 different personalities, and 3 different contexts, but one common thread, the narrative structure that moves from personal experience, shared realities, and finally culminating in a call for immediate action. Now, you might be wondering, how do these historical narratives relate to organisational change that you're attempting to navigate? Well, these same narrative structures that were effectively used by King and Obama and Schwarzenegger can be adapted to unify and motivate your colleagues at work. Narrative frameworks. Narrative, or storytelling, follows a predictable path, but it's more art than science. Humans are social creatures, and our brains are hardwired to make sense of the world around us by crafting and telling stories that connect the dots and arrange and address uncertainties. Reflecting on the narratives by King, Obama, and Schwarzenegger, you might have already noticed that the underlying structure that enabled them to resonate so powerfully with their audience. This is a shared structure referred to as the public narrative. It's a method for communicating and catalyzing collective action that is rooted in the personal story and shared values. Public narratives involve the weaving of 3 different story strands: the narrative of self, the narrative of us, and the narrative of now. Schwarzenegger started his appeal to the Russian soldiers, and he did so by sharing a personal story that resonated with the audience, revealing his deep admiration for the Russian people. This is a story of self, which connected him to his listeners on an emotional level, making his appeal even more impactful. In the same way, Martin Luther King and Barack Obama, in their respective speeches, connected their personal journeys to the collective experience of their audiences. King shared dreams of emancipation, and Obama discussed common hopes and dreams of the American people, and in doing so sketched out a story of us, a tale of unity, of shared values and common ground. And finally, the leaders transitioned to a story of now, a rallying cry for immediate action. King with his "now is the time" refrain, Obama with his urgent call for reform, and Schwarzenegger with his plea for truth and peace made urgent case for action compelling for their listeners. This approach can be remarkably beneficial when applied to the context also of organisational change. It provides a unique structure to communicating change initiatives, leveraging the power of storytelling to make abstract concepts like values and vision tangible and relatable through powerful framing. There are 3 main and significant benefits of using a public narrative approach in change communication. Overcoming resistance. Change triggers resistance in organisations, and with the public narrative, leaders can reduce this by fostering an emotional connection to the change, translating it into a story that resonates with organisational values and goals, and inspiring employees and creating a sense of urgency for the proposed changes. Resistance is a big area to talk about, and not only addressed with communication approaches, although that's a big part of it. So subscribe and ring the bell and watch out for later videos on the topic. Building trust and shared purpose. Trust and shared purpose are crucial for any change initiatives. Public narrative facilitates this by conveying personal and relatable story elements that articulate common experiences, motivations, and fostering a sense of unity. It nurtures a sense of ownership and investment in the change initiative. Clarifying vision and values. A common challenge in communicating change is that you need to translate abstract ideas such as vision and values into concrete objectives that resonate with the employees. The public narrative approach enables leaders to craft a compelling story that brings the change initiative and goals and the potential merit to life. This helps employees understand and connect with their roles in the broader context of the proposed change. The 33-33 rule for effective communication. The 33-33 rule is another powerful tool for change communication. It involves telling the same story in different formats to fit various contexts. There is the 30-minute version, which is a detailed narrative used for town halls and all-hand meetings, for example. 3-minute version, which condenses the key points down for presenting to senior leaders. A 30-second version, which is your quick, concise summary for updates, say like an elevator pitch. And a 3-second version, which is your motto or slogan for encapsulating the core message. This allows you to adapt your narrative for different contexts and time constraints, and assuring effective and aligned communication at all levels. How to use the 33-33 rule. Imagine you use the public narrative to create a beautiful story. If you look at Dr. King's speech or Obama's speech, for example, they were all about 30 minutes long, but you want to be able to condense that into a 3-minute version and a 30-second version. This gives you flexibility and allows you to adapt to different audiences and contexts. The 30-minute version is great for senior leaders speaking at town halls or all-hand meetings where all stakeholders are involved. People in that instance want detailed information and the meaning behind it, and they also want to get to the purpose. They want to go into depth, and you need to create empathy and unity and urgency. The 3-minute version is for situations where you don't have as much time. It's perfect for managers presenting to senior leadership or boards, for example. You condense the 3 parts into 3 minutes, say focusing on the key messages and impacts while avoiding unnecessary details, at least in that context. You still tackle all 3 stories. The 30-second version is for quick updates when senior leaders or change managers need to update teams. That's in a situation where this version becomes very handy. Think of it like an elevator pitch where you quickly outline the key goals, the rationale, and a call to action. Purely the most important information. Lastly then, you create the 3-second version, turning your entire narrative into a motto or slogan. For example, Obama used "Yes, we can" to encapsulate his entire message in just 3 words. Mindspace, an evidence-based tool for communicating change. You might have noted that most of the interventions covered so far are primarily focused on structure rather than content. This is because when it comes to narrative and communication in change initiatives, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach for the content of the message. Every change effort is unique with its own set of challenges, stakeholders, and objectives. As such, it's more useful to have a framework like the public narrative and structures such as 33 to guide the development of communicating. However, constructing a strong narrative is challenging, and adjusting and tailoring it to the different stakeholder groups adds another layer of complexity. This is where another evidence-based intervention might prove valuable. This is a tool that can help shape both the content and delivery of the message with behavioral science principles, which can boost the persuasiveness and effectiveness of the change communication. The Mindspace framework was developed by the Behavioural Insights team of the British government, and it can really help you here. Mindspace represents 9 of the most robust influences on our behaviour, as described by behavioural science. It covers the messenger, incentives, norms, defaults, salience, priming, affect, commitment, and ego. For each of these components, it provides a lens through which we can assess and refine our communication strategy. Each component in the framework is backed by a wealth of research, and which would fill an entire book in and of its own. But it's not necessary to go through all of this in depth and read all of the research to effectively apply the Mindspace framework to communication. In fact, the beauty of this framework is it has been designed to be easily applied by everyday practitioners, especially those without a research or science background. Let's break down each component of the Mindspace framework for how you can apply the framework in your change communications. The messenger. This is who is delivering the message. The credibility of the communicator is crucial. Trusted people with influence should deliver the message. Incentives. Motivators driving behaviour. Understand what the motivators for different stakeholder groups are. Highlight their potential gains and losses which will drive behaviour. The norms. Social norms influence behaviour. Leverage social norms by showing how others are already adopting the desired behaviour. Defaults. These are the preset options that influence decisions. So make new desired behaviours the default choice, and this can be very powerful in guiding decision making too. Salience. This is all about attention-grabbing elements. Use attention-grabbing elements in your storytelling, for example. Make key points stand out and memorable. Priming. Subtle cues influence behaviour. So use subtle cues that can include information or being in the environment in which it's delivered. Affect, which refers to the emotional responses. So consider the emotional response of your audience. Tailor your message to evoke those positive and desired emotions. Commitment. Public commitments lead to change. Get senior leaders to publicly commit to the desired change and the proposed change you're looking for. Ego. This is all about maintaining dignity and personal identity. Ensure that your communication respects the dignity of all stakeholders, but also aligns the behavior you're looking for with their personal identity. If you're still watching this video, then by definition, the techniques I've shared are working. In the first few seconds, I used social proof by referencing well-known leaders to grab your attention. I defined my authority by sharing my background as a reputable change practitioner. I created urgency by highlighting the importance importance of applying these techniques now. The principles and strategies I've shared with you are why this video will help you become a more effective change communicator. To dive deeper, check out my website, link below, and stay tuned for more videos where I'll explore more change management and leadership how-tos in detail.